Hey guys, welcome back to the show, and on this episode, I'm going to be talking about a movie about a mummy that ends up being a huge letdown. Just a massive disappointment. Seriously, I hate it. This is Time Walker from 1982. Now, I should mention that I do think there are some cool things about this movie, but overall, the general consensus seems to be that this is a really bad movie, and I can totally see why. So let's get right into it, shall we? I'm not going to waste any more of your time, you're busy people. Now you may be confused as to why a movie about a mummy starts in space, but trust me, it will all make sense later. Kind of. Anyways, now we're in Egypt, where Professor Doug McCadden is exploring the tomb of King Tut, when suddenly there's an earthquake that destroys a wall and reveals a hidden chamber. And Doug's like, ugh, what the hell's going on here? What's with all the dead people? I thought this was a tomb, not some kind of a skeleton hangout. But then he spots a sarcophagus in the middle of the room, and as we all know, if there's a sarcophagus, there's most likely a mummy inside. Or at least something cool.
So many bodies out there.
Well, how many would a tomb normally have? Maybe this isn't a tomb. Maybe this is a some sort of a mummified swingers party. And you're just a little too late. And I know what you're thinking. Gee, Mark, that's really specific. Why couldn't it just be a normal party? Because it's funnier if the skeletons are having sex. What else do you expect from me? Honestly. I've been doing this for years, and sometimes I feel like you people don't even really know me. You know what? I take that back. I'm sorry. It's just been a rough couple of days, and I'm in kind of a mood. So as the law says, when it comes to ancient artifacts and human remains, finders keepers. So Doug takes the sarcophagus back to the California University of the Sciences where he works, and they start opening the sarcophagus right away. See, this is why I could never do this job. When you start getting into this sort of stuff, I feel like the risk of running into a curse is extremely high. And once you get a curse, oh my God, what a pain in the ass that is. That basically becomes your whole life, because then you gotta find out how to break the curse. And that's extremely time consuming. You gotta go to libraries and start looking up really old books that are covered in dust and cobwebs. You gotta talk to some really old people. You might have to go on a search for all these strange ingredients to make like a potion. You might have to sacrifice something or someone. And, I mean, come on, who's got time for that in this day and age? I don't. Believe it or not, I actually have shit to do. So they open it up, and Doug is like, oh my God, it's in perfect condition. I am full mast right now. They notice that there's this green mold inside, so Doug is like, hey, Mike, grab a sample of it so we can test it and find out what it is. So Mike starts collecting a sample, and he's like, would you look at that? I got it on my skin, and it's not coming off. See, again, could never do this job. I am not messing around with any of that shit. You don't even know what this stuff is. I mean, sure, it could be mold, but what if it's not? What if it's curse in dust form? And now it's on you. It's part of you. So now they're ready to do the x-rays, and the guy doing the x-rays is Peter Sharpe, and he just starts acting like an idiot from the get-go.
Ready? Aim. Fire.
And he doesn't just do that once. He does it every time.
Ready? Aim. Fire. Ready? Aim. Fire.
So, of course, he screwed up and gave the mummy 10 times more radiation than normal. And later, while he's looking at the x-rays, he notices something strange. So what does he do? Decides to start messing around with the sarcophagus to see what he can find, which, again, is crazy to me. What if you start poking around that thing and like a beetle jumps out and bites you? Or what if you just get stung by something and you don't even know what it is, and before you can get a good look at it, it just like scurries off and disappears forever? Like forget sleeping ever again for the rest of your life. And it's not because I'm super superstitious or anything like that. It's just that I don't go looking for trouble with the supernatural unless there's a large sum of money guaranteed or other types of exciting stuff. For example, that swinger party inside of the tomb that I mentioned before. I would be down for that. Like, if they were alive. Like, if I went into the tomb and by accident somehow read some kind of a magic spell that turned all of the skeletons into some really hot Egyptian chicks who were totally DTF. Count me in. Like, why can't there be more curses like that? Why do they always have to be bad? Well, I guess that's what makes them curses. Why can't you just leave behind a spell that can reward the explorer? Why does it have to punish them? Why does it have to be a trap, you know? Be like, ha ha ha, I got you, 3,000 years later. Why can't it be like, hey, here's some good stuff? Anyways, he finds a secret compartment that has some kind of a metal plate and a sack full of crystal balls, so he puts them into his pocket and assumes they're probably worth a lot of money. But there's just one problem. They show up on the X-ray. So he takes another one, and it looks like he's in the clear. But on his way to deliver the new X-ray, and I assume destroy the original one, he sees Jack Parker, the lead engineer, walking down the hallway. So he hides because, I mean, isn't it obvious? If Parker sees him, he might say something along the lines of, hey, why are you carrying 2 envelopes? I assume you should only be carrying 1 envelope. So the fact that you're carrying 2 makes this very suspicious. Now, I don't trust this at all. Something's very wrong here. I'm gonna start telling everybody that you're carrying 2 envelopes. The jig is up. Whatever the jig may be. 2 envelope jig. So he goes into this, I don't know, electrical closet and hides the envelope. The only problem is that once Parker leaves and he goes back to get it, he can't reach it. Oh well, if he can't get it, no one can. And I'm sure this will never come up ever again. Doug finds a strange symbol printed on a piece of material unlike anything he's ever seen before. Meanwhile, the mummy's chest reveals a small glowing orb, and it looks like the mummy has been awakened. Doug thinks that the x-rays look weird, and they notice something in the top corner. So they go check out the sarcophagus and find the secret compartment, but it's filled with green ooze. So of course, Susie's first instinct is to touch it, because that's what you'd do if you found some strange slime. Just stick your finger in there right away. So Doug is like, don't touch it, get Dr. Melrose right away. Dr. Melrose tells him that it's the same fungus from before, but it's no longer dormant, and he tells Doug not to let anyone near it.
Don't let anyone near it.
It's not going to be easy. Rossmore scheduled a press conference for today.
I don't understand. What's so hard about it? Just don't let people touch the sarcophagus. Isn't that what you would normally do anyways? Tape it off, get some pylons or something. There's no reason why the press needs to start touching this stuff. And holy crap, here they come. So Doug tells Susie she has one job, and that's to prevent anyone from touching the sarcophagus. And guess what happens? Mike sees a little bit of the slime, and while Susie is awkwardly looking the other way, he touches it. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with these people? What is compelling them to touch this stuff? Just look at that. If you saw that, would you think to yourself, oh man, I can't wait to get my hands on that. Oh, I'm just dying to know what the texture feels like. Oh! I mean, if these characters saw some dog shit on the side of the road, would they touch that too? Because that's basically what this looks like. And for all they know, it actually could be. They don't know what this secret compartment is for. Maybe it's an ancient bedpan for the dead, which I know sounds ridiculous, but does it? Does it really? Because when you die, there's still a bunch of stuff in you that's gotta come out at some point. And they said earlier in the movie, this looks like it was a hasty preparation, and based on all the x-rays, it looks like all the internal organs were still intact, so this was not a normal mummification. I know I'm going to great lengths to try and support my dump drawer theory here, so I'm sorry, and I'm gonna move on. Anyways, they proceed with the press conference, and they're like, all right, everybody, check this out. They open the lid, and it's completely empty, except for some slime. Meanwhile, Sharpe is trying to sell the crystal balls, but the jeweler says they're worthless. Of course, now they've launched an investigation to find the missing mummy, and Sharpe seems like a prime suspect.
Hey, Pete, I was a frat man. I know what it's like. Slow night, nothing to do, have a couple of beers.
Steal a mummy?
I'm still trying to figure out if this guy's eyebrows are real. I mean, seriously, look at those things. Forget a comb. You gotta brush those in the morning. Like, you need to use conditioner in the shower on those to prevent knots and tangles.
Why don't you ask Parker where he was that night? I saw him there.
I love how Parker keeps getting mentioned and shown, but he's barely said anything.
So long, Parker.
No, I'd like Mr. Parker to stay.
After all, he is the chief engineer.
Meanwhile, the mummy is on the loose inside of this reactor complex, where this janitor thinks he hears something, and the mummy kills him. So the doctors tell Doug that the fungus eats flesh and then continues to grow, and they take him to see Mike, whose hand is not exactly in the best shape. I assure you, Doug, we are doing all that we can. As you can see, we're keeping it under this cloth so that nobody sees it and gets freaked out, because it's really gross. And we don't want to be known as the hospital with the gross patients. We already have enough ugly staff members as it is. Meanwhile, Sharpe is giving away the crystal balls to impress girls and pay off his debts, but I guess the mummy can track the balls and goes after them. So now the mummy is just going around and snatching the balls off people, and of course when he does, they get touched with the fungus. And that's the funny thing. Sometimes this movie feels like it's more about the fungus than the mummy. So I guess the mummy has raided the electrical supplies closet and is, I don't know, diverting power, making connections. He's got that metal plate from the sarcophagus and he's putting the balls on it. And now we have this awkward scene where Susie is walking and this guy Stanley, who likes her, comes up to her and he's like, "Hey, do you have a minute?" And she tells him no, she's really busy. And then he gets kind of shitty about it, but then he's like, "All right, here, take this bracelet with a crystal ball glued onto it. Okay, bye." And she's like, "What the hell? I can't accept this." So the mummy keeps getting his crystal balls back and adding them to the plate. I guess this is causing a huge power drain. So Parker goes to the reactor complex to check it out. And if you thought some of the notifications on your phone were annoying, imagine going to work and having to deal with this. Alright, so here's something I don't understand. Officer Eyebrows notices some fungus on the door to this place, so he thinks whoever stole the mummy is keeping him in there. So Parker comes out and they kind of question him and he makes a joke about blowing up the reactor, and then he leaves. But the cop doesn't go in to investigate for some reason. I mean, even if the mummy wasn't in there at that exact moment, which it was because we just saw it was watching Parker when he was in there, if the cop went in to investigate, he would have found the body of the missing janitor at least. Doug gets everyone together and he's like, "Okay, I have no way to prove this, but I think that fungus is from another planet. Because, you know, it's like nothing we've ever seen before. And the x-rays of the mummy are unlike anything we've ever seen before. So, you know, aliens." So the next day, Doug finds that Susie's bracelet is reflecting the same pattern on the wall that he found in the scroll. So they take it to Parker, who says it looks like a wiring schematic. And I have to wonder if there's been an investigation into the case of the missing janitor who disappeared days ago. Well, I guess he just doesn't matter. Why is it that the janitors are always getting killed in these types of movies? And nobody seems to care. Like, they're people too. But whatever, Susie goes to the library and for some reason takes the bracelet with her. I don't know why she wouldn't leave it with them so that they can inspect it some more. And wouldn't you know it, holy crap, the mummy tracked her down. So now it's a chase, I think. I mean, we're supposed to feel that this thing is chasing her, even though this shot clearly shows that there's nothing behind her at all. Susie finally realizes, holy crap, it's the bracelet, but I can't get it off for some reason. And I don't know why. Finally, the mummy is able to grab the bracelet and it just comes off instantly. Susie falls to the ground, but it turns out she's all right. And she somehow didn't even get any fungus on her, so hooray for that. In the hospital, they ask her what happened and she's like, "It's the mummy, I tell you. The mummy. It has to be. Nobody on campus owns that many cloth bandages." The mummy seems to be just going around and stealing power transformers, and of course this one happens to be where Sharpe hid the x-ray. So they find it and they're like, "Holy crap, it all makes sense now. Sharpe, you bastard, where are the other balls?" They come to the conclusion that the mummy is trying to make some sort of long-range transmitter and that the crystal balls are part of it somehow. Sharpe tells them that he gave one of the balls to his girlfriend, who's roommates with Parker's girlfriend, and she's currently home alone with the crystal ball. They gotta get over there right now. And look, she's getting ready for bed. That's when we're most vulnerable. I just gotta say, I still hate getting ready for bed. Like, I mean, I do it, obviously, but I'm not a fan of the whole thing. You know, it's like you got this checklist of stuff you gotta do so that you can lie down for 8 hours and be unconscious. You know, it's like, okay, I'm gonna shut my brain off for a while. What do I gotta do so that I can do nothing? Also, I'm kinda curious, how many of you are shower in the morning people and how many are shower before bed people? I'll put 2 comments in the comment section and you can vote for which one. Now, throughout this movie, the mummy has been able to move really fast. And that's because it hasn't been walking, it's been levitating and floating around. And this is just a brand new level of perversion here, as the mummy levitates all the way up to the window to watch her get into the shower. And I'm completely serious. I know some of you are probably thinking, oh, he's just going after the crystal ball. But he goes right for the shower and rips open the curtain while the crystal ball is in a box by the sink. So I just think that's pretty sus and very inappropriate. I don't care if it's been 3,000 years, dude, that's no excuse. I mean, how would I feel if I was taking a shower and some ancient Egyptian queen walked in and just ripped open the shower curtain? Okay, well, it would probably depend on the situation, but I would still think it was very rude. I mean, you're letting the steam out. So get in here, quick. I mean, all right, you've seen the goods. Are you gonna make a move or not? Doug goes into the reactor complex and finds the crystals. At the same time, these guys come in. I don't know who this character is exactly, but I'm pretty sure this guy wants to replace Doug and take over his department.
Well, the game is over. And as soon as I call Lieutenant Plummer, you'll be on your way to jail and I'll have what I deserve.
But holy crap, it's the mummy with the final crystal to complete the transmitter. And now we have the big reveal. The mummy is actually an alien.
Shoot it! No!
Okay, why is that always the first reaction? Kill it! And it's weird, it's like the cop was trying to shoot Doug instead of the alien. I mean, look, Doug isn't even in front of the alien when the shot goes off. He's off on a completely different angle. Anyways, the alien extends a hand to Doug, and I guess an alien hand looks exactly like a human hand with really long nails. So then they disappear, and this guy picks up the crystal ball, which covers his hand in the fungus, and then it says, "To be continued." So as you can probably imagine, I hate this ending. To be continued, I can't stand that shit. This isn't a TV miniseries, it's a feature film. And to make it worse, it wasn't continued. There's no conclusion to this. No sequel that I could find. So just when it starts to get interesting, there's no ending. It's a complete punch to the pills, and it's easily the worst thing about this movie. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, I think this movie had some cool ideas. It's not all bad, but the ending drops the ball to such a degree that for me, it overshadows everything I liked about it. The main character disappears with an alien and we never find out what happens to him. I mean, there's obviously some problems with this film, but there is nothing worse than a story that doesn't have an ending. I can totally see why people hate this thing. Because again, you got me interested in the last few minutes and then you pulled the rug out. And then you didn't replace it with another rug. But that's pretty much it for this one. As usual, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next time. Hey, you wouldn't happen to have an extra quarter on you, would you? Because they just restocked the vending machine out there, and they put nibs in it this time. I love nibs. They're like little mini Twizzlers, you know? When you don't feel like eating a full-length Twizzler, you can just eat a few nibs. But that's also kind of how they get you, you know, because you start eating like a bowl full of those things, and then before you know it, you've eaten the equivalent of a full pack of Twizzlers. Imagine going to see like the dentist, right? And they gotta take the x-rays. They go run behind that wall and you hear them behind there like, ready, aim, fire. Actually, that might make me feel a little less stressed out now that I think about it. Knowing that they're having fun. What if you start messing around with this thing and some kind of strange beetle jumps out of nowhere? And, you know, what movie was that in? The Mummy? Where it like crawls into the guy's skin. So the mummy keeps getting his balls back and adding them to the blood. I'm a grown man. Okay. You know, I wrote this yesterday, and now that I'm reading it, I have no idea, like, why there's so many sexual references. It just kind of happened.